Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Kam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripa tamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Lord Chaitanya, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya.
So here we are in chapter 12, Madhya Lila, the cleansing of Guṇḍicā temple. And in the last session, we saw that the cleansing had just started. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was teaching by his own personal example, and he personally started cleaning the temple. So we stopped after completing just few verses, I think from 72 to 84, and then we stopped because we thought that we will cover this whole section of Guṇḍicā margin at one shot. So I hope all of us remember that Guṇḍicā is that temple from where the Jagannath Rath Yatra comes, and Jagannath stays for 7 days and 7 nights at Guṇḍicā temple. So that temple is used only during the time when the procession cart, when Rath Yatra arrives there. So only that time during the year it is used. So that is why it required a mega cleaning. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with his entire team is there for Guṇḍicā margin.
Premulas shodhane layena Krishna nama Bhakta Gana Krishna kahe kare nij kama. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed and cleansed the temple in great jubilation, chanting the holy names of Lord Krishna all the time, Similarly, all the devotees were also chanting and at the same time performing their respective duties. Now we can just imagine there was a sprawling campus of this temple, Guṇḍicā. So there are gardens, there are pathways, and there are the rooms, large altars, then there are other smaller rooms, and Lord Chaitanya himself is washing, he's cleansing, and at the same time he's in great ecstasy chanting the holy names of the Lord. And not just Lord himself, but all the devotees assisting him, they were also chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So everybody was cleaning, everybody was chanting, and that was the atmosphere.
धूलि धूसतानु देखिते शोभना,
कहाँ कहाँ अश्रु जले करे समर्जना.
The entire beautiful body of the Lord was covered with dust and dirt. In this way, it became transcendently beautiful. At times, when cleansing the temple, the Lord shed tears, and in some places, he even cleansed with those tears. Completely beyond us to understand what is mentioned here, what Krishnadas Kaviraj is actually narrating. It's such a wonderful description. Lord himself, now the Supreme Lord for whom actually we clean the temple, that Supreme Lord is actually cleaning his own temple. So much so that his whole body gets covered with dust and dirt. And he's so absorbed in this service and so much of absorption with devotion. So devotionally he's doing that he's experiencing such transcendental emotions while cleansing the temple that the Lord is shedding tears. Not only that, so much so that he doesn't need water. I mean, tears are flowing from Lord's eyes, and with those tears, he is utilizing for cleansing the temple. So this is how complete absorption in the service, like samadhi in service, and then we experience this type of transcendental bliss.
भोगम मंदिर शोधन करि शोधित प्रांगण सकल आवास क्रमे करिला शोधन. After this, the place where the deity's food was kept, Bhoga Mandir, was cleansed. Then the yard was cleansed, and then all the residential quarters, one after the other. So as I was explaining, it's a sprawling place where there are different rooms in different halls. So there was a Bhog Mandap, which was cleansed, Bhog Mandir, where the deities offered bhoga, and then the yard, and then the residential quarters. Trina dhuli jhinkura sabha ekatra kariya, bahir vasalana phelai bahir kariya.
After Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu collected all the straw, dust and grains of sand in one place, he gathered it all in his cloth and threw it outside. So now here is a description that not only Chaitanya Mahāprabhu was completely absorbed in the service, he was organizing the whole effort very meticulously in a very systematic manner. So like in the previous verse, we saw how systematically they were cleaning one area and the other and the third one. And now what he is doing is, after brooming the whole thing, and he has collected the straw, dust, grain of sand, everything, and he has collected it in one pile. He gathered it all in his cloth and threw it outside. So that is gone, and then the next level of cleaning will start.
Hey mata bhakta gana kari nij vase, trina dhuli bahir phelaya paraharishe. Following the example of Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu, all the devotees in great jubilation began to gather straw and dust with their own cloths and throw them outside the temple. So everybody was collecting all these straws and the dust and the sand particles, and they were collecting them in their own cloth, and then they'll go out and then they will throw it. Prabhu kahe ke mata kariya cha samarjana, trina dhuli dekhi le jani ba parishrama.
So like an expert leader, Lord is setting the targets here. He is giving a goal. So what he is saying, the Lord then told the devotees, I can tell how much you have labored and how well you have cleansed the temple simply by seeing all the straw and dust you have collected outside. So what is the competition now? Mahaprabhu is bringing a type of transcendental competition in cleaning, and he's telling that let's see who can collect the bigger pile of straw and dust. So whoever, based on the size of the this pile of straw and dust, I will estimate how hard you have been working. So that is how there is a metric. So anywhere in our life, wherever we want to succeed, actually we need to measure those things. From our childhood or our school days, our college days, marks were the metrics. When we come to ISKCON, chanting is the metrics. How many rounds do you chant? So here, when we become more sincere and we do some services, so then those are again metric, like how many books did you distribute, or how much donation did you collect. So Mahaprabhu here, what he is telling is that let's see how big pile of sand and dust particles you are making. Sabara jantana boja ekatra karela, sabahaite prabhur boja adhika haila.
Even though all the devotees collected dirt in one pile, the dirt collected by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was much greater. So this is astounding. So there were hundreds of devotees and they were collecting the dust and the straws and the sand particles, and they were putting them all in one huge pile. And yet whatever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu collected, that pile was much greater. It was not just greater. This seems to be a little bigger. No, it was much greater than what was collected by all the devotees. So Lord was personally putting in that hard labor. He was putting in that great endeavor for cleaning Krishna's temple. He was leading by his personal example, and all the other devotees, seeing Lord Chaitanya, they were so enthused, and this great competition was there. Mata abhyantara karila marjana, Puna sabakare dila kariya vantana, Sukshma dhuli trena kankar sabakara dura, Bhalamate shodhan kara prabhurantapura. So now Mahaprabhu is personally demonstrating. He is personally doing much more than all what others were doing. And now in this verse, what he is doing is, he is delegating. So what he is saying, after the inside of the temple was cleansed, the Lord again allotted areas for the devotees to cleanse. The Lord then ordered everyone to cleanse the inside of the temple very perfectly by taking finer dust, straws and grains of sand and throwing them outside. So for a leader, like Mahaprabhu is teaching the leadership principles here. So Mahaprabhu was enthusiastic. In the beginning we also saw that how Mahaprabhu cheered up his team members by personally applying them chandan and garlanding them. So that is how he cheered them up. And then now gradually he has given the targets, and now he is giving their job profiles. So he is allotting. So this is your area, you have to clean, and that corner is your area. So like that, he is allotting areas. He is delegating the responsibility among the entire team and giving them targets. Saba Vaishnav lana ya be doi barsho dhila, dekhi Mahaprabhur mane santosha hoila. After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the Vaishnavas cleansed the temple for the second time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy to see the cleansing work. So they cleaned it once very thoroughly, and then they cleaned it the second time with greater sincerity. Arashat jana shata ghate jala bhari, prathame ilana ache kalapeksha kari. While the temple was being swept, about 100 men stood ready with filled water pots, and they simply waited the Lord's order to throw the water from them. So now again, all of them are waiting for Lord's instructions. So they have all gathered with water. So before water, like how we do in our houses also. So first the brooming happens, and then the mopping or washing. So the brooming has happened, the sweeping has happened, and now they are waiting for the water pots, full water pots, and waiting for the instruction.
जल आन बोलिया बे महाप्रभु कहिला, तबे शत घट आनी प्रभु आगे दिला.
As soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called for water, all the men immediately brought the 100 water pots, which are completely filled, and delivered them before the Lord. So there was this team, huge team of 100 men carrying new pots filled till the brim, and they brought all the water pots ready for Lord's command.
प्रथमे करिला प्रभु मंदिर प्रक्षालना, ऊर्ध्वाधो भीति गृहा मध्य सिंहासना. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first washed the main temple, then thoroughly washed the ceiling, the walls, the floors, the sitting place or simhasan, and everything else within the room. So this is how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sequentially organizing. So as I was saying, he was very meticulous. Everything, everywhere, there is a system which he is following. So here, sequentially, he was cleaning first the main temple, then the ceiling, the wall, the floor, and the simhasan.
And it is very natural. If we clean the floor first, then we clean the walls, and then we clean the ceiling, then again the floor will become dirty. So first clean the ceiling, then all the dirt will come on the walls and the floor, then clean the walls, and then finally clean the floor. So we don't even clean our houses like this. Khapara bhariya jala urdhve chalaila, sei jale urdhva shodhi bhiti prakashila.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself and his devotees began to throw water onto the ceiling. When this water fell, it washed the floors, walls and the floor. So directly throw it on the ceiling, and while coming down, it will wash everything. Shri Haste Karena Simhasane Marjana, Prabhu Aage Jala Ani Deya Bhakta Gana.
Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to wash the sitting place of Lord Jagannath with his own hands, and all the devotees began to bring water to the Lord.
All the devotees within the temple began to wash. Each one had a broom in his hand, and in this way they cleansed the temple of the Lord. So each and every soul which was present there, everyone was involved in this cleaning, in this Maha cleaning. So it was not that somebody was being left out. So all the devotees who had gathered, everyone was assigned some responsibilities, and they were all washing. So they all had this broom in their hands, and they were all doing. Actually, this reminds me, like in the schools these days, for the annual day, if it happens, so all the students are engaged in some or the other thing. Like in my time, it wasn't, we would voluntarily opt for, okay, I want to do, and others would just sit in the audience. But these days, it is so wonderful that each and every child, so the teacher identifies what he or she is good at, and everybody is giving an opportunity to do. So that brings such an involvement. So similarly, we see here that everybody, each and every devotee was involved in cleaning operations.
And there's an amazing painting. Keha jal ani deya Mahaprabhu kare, Keha jal deya tanra charana upare. Someone brought water to pour into the hands of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and someone poured water on his lotus feet. Now you look at this picture carefully. We can see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and now you take your eyes towards the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and there you will see one devotee wearing saffron dhoti. He is very carefully pouring the water on his lotus feet.
Very clever. He's cleaning.
Others are putting water on the ceiling. He's putting water on Lord's lotus feet.
Yeah, actually, he is cleaning the place of the Lord, and he is simultaneously doing Abhishek for the Lord also. Keha lokana kare se jalapana, Keha magilaya, Keha anya kare dana. So now this devotional service is actually very blissfully performed. Devotees become very happy by performing this devotional service. So now what is happening here? The water that fell from the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now what do we call such water? This is actually Charanamrit. Charan se nikalne wala amrit, the water that has washed the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So what they are doing is, somebody is drinking, was drunk by someone who hid himself. So he quickly comes, he's very clever. He comes, he washes the feet, drink water and goes and hide. Someone else begged for that water. Give me some mercy, share that mercy with me. And another person was giving that water in charity. So that is such a precious commodity. That is Charanamrita of Chaitanya Mahāprabhu. While Chaitanya Mahāprabhu is cleaning his own temple, devotees are actually grabbing for mercy.
And this person is also shown here. Now, if you look at this picture and you see this devotee, he is hiding behind the altar
and drinking.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not busy in cleaning. This devotee is pouring water here and the water is flowing here and he is drinking happily.
घर धूरी प्रणाली काय जल छाड़ी दीला से जले प्रांगण सबा भरिया रहीला. After the room was washed, the water was let out through an outlet and then flowed and filled the yard outside.
निज वस्त्र कैला प्रभु गृह समर्जना Mahaprabhu nija vastre majila simhasana. The Lord mopped the rooms with his own clothes.
Hari Hari.
And he polished the throne with them also. So Lord's upper cloth was there. He mopped the whole room with his own cloth after washing it. And even polished the throne with them.
शतघट जले हाइला मंदिर मर्जना मंदिर शोधिया कैला ये नने जमाना. In this way, all the rooms were cleansed with 100 water pots. After the rooms had been cleansed, the minds of the devotees were as clean as the room. So now this is what is the side effect of devotional service. We don't do the devotional service for purification, but while doing the devotional service, our heart and mind gets purified and we become so devotionally surcharged. So devotional service like this, it is so intense. Like in the previous verse, Mahaprabhu was wiping the floor with his own cloths. So such was his absorption, and devotional service calls for certain sacrifices also. So he was not attached to his own cloth. He sacrificed his cloth in devotional service. And as a result, he, along with all the devotees, they felt so purified. Nirmala Shitala Snigdha Karila Mandire Apana Hrudaya Yena Dharila Bahire.
When the temple was cleansed, it was purified, cool and pleasing, just as if the Lord's own pure mind had appeared. So usually what happens is that if you look into our heart, there are so many impurities in our heart, and it's a very difficult place for the Lord. Lord is residing as Paramatma, but it's a very, very difficult place. So when we perform devotional service and when we give up the notion of enjoying in the heavenly planets, we give up the notion of liberation, when we give up false pride, when we give up the desire for fame, and desire for women, and desire for money, and desire for sense gratification, and when we want to do every and any activity just for the pleasure of the Lord, like here devotees are cleaning the temple, they're chanting the holy names and they're just so all blissful, then as the temple has become clean, it has become cool because it has been washed nicely and it has become very, very pleasant. Similarly, the heart or the mind of the devotee also becomes like that.
Shat shat jana jala bhare sarovare घाटे स्थान नाही केहा कूपे jala bhare. Since hundreds of men were engaged in bringing water from the lake, there was no place to stand on the banks. Consequently, someone began to draw water from a well. So actually there was no place in the lake, so now they started bringing water from the well. So they are all working very cooperatively together. We'll see.
Purna kumbhalana aise shata bhakta gana shunya ghatalana yaya arshata jana. Hundreds of devotees brought water in the pots and hundreds took the empty pots away to fill them up again. So there were hundreds and hundreds of devotees. Hundreds of devotees were bringing the water-filled pots, and then when those pots became empty, then there were hundreds of devotees taking them out. So there was continuously devotees are coming in with filled pots, and devotees are walking out with empty pots. And there was no place, as you saw in the previous verse.
Nityananda Advaita Swarupa Bharti Puri Iha Vinu Arasaba Ane Jala Bhari. With the exception of Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, Swarup Damodar, Brahmananda Bharti and Paramananda Puri, everyone was engaged in filling the water pots and bringing them there. So except these 5 personalities who are like really very, very senior in their position, everybody else was engaged. So they were cooperatively filling the pot. So some devotees were carrying, some were standing there filling the pot. So they were continuously bringing more and more and more water pots.
So it was almost like a powerful water pump which was continuously functioning. So there was no break in water supply. Ghate ghate theki kata, ghata bhangi gela, shata shata ghata loka tahalana aila. Many of the water pots were broken when people collide with one another, and hundreds of men had to bring new water pots to fill. So there were so many devotees. Now we can just imagine, just the senior most devotees were there, and everyone else was bringing the pots, taking of the pots. Sometimes it would happen that they would collide with each other, and then the pots will break. Sometimes empty pots will break, sometimes filled pots will break, and then they'll get new water pots, and then they will fill it and then bring it back again. So all this was happening at that time.
And they were all tolerating, they were not standing and fighting there.
They were all blissful.
Jala bhare ghara dhoya kare hari dhwani Krishna hari dhwani vina har nahi shuni. Some people were filling the pots and others were washing the rooms. But everyone was engaged in chanting the holy name of Krishna and Hari. So they were doing their services and simultaneously they were all chanting Hari Hari, Hari Hari,
Krishna, Krishna,
Hari Hari.
Krishna Krishna kahi kare ghatera prarthana, Krishna Krishna kahi kare ghata samarpana. One person begged for a water pot by chanting the holy names of Krishna, Krishna Krishna, and another person delivered the pot by chanting Krishna Krishna Krishna. So one was asking Krishna Krishna, and another was giving the water pot Krishna Krishna.
So they were not saying give and take. They were like
Only-
Hari Hari. Krishna.
Ye kahe se kahe Krishna name, Krishna nama haila sanketa sabakame.
When anyone had to speak, he did so by uttering the holy name of Krishna. Consequently, the holy name of Krishna became an indication for everyone who wanted something. So just like when we visit Vrindavan and the rickshawalas, the shopkeepers, the beggars on the side of the lane, or even the temple pujari, or anybody and everybody, how they call, hey, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe, Radhe. So anybody who wants your attention there for anything, like people don't use horns, people just call out Radhe Radhe. So similarly here we are saying that in this transcendental Guṇḍicā Marjanam, everybody was calling each other with Krishna Krishna. So if they wanted something, if they wanted water pot, if they wanted a broom, if they wanted, okay, clean this side. So they'll not say, come and clean this side. Hey, Krishna, Krishna. And then, so it is understood. So indicating everything by calling out Krishna's name.
So devotees also do that. When we pick up a phone call, we say Hare Krishna. And if you have any question, Hare Krishna.
Prema veshe Prabhu kahe Krishna Krishna nama. Ekale prema vesh kare
shata janir kama.
As Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu was vibrating the holy name of Krishna in ecstatic love, he himself was performing the work of hundreds of men. So just by chanting Krishna's name, everybody was so devotionally charged up that they were all over-performing. And Chaitanya Mahāprabhu, though he was an epitome, he was performing the work of hundreds of men.
Shadahaste karinayena kshalanarjana pratijana pasheyai karana shikshana. It appeared as though Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu was cleansing and washing with 100 hands. He approached every devotee just to teach him how to work. So the way Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was cleaning and washing, it appears that he had hundreds of hands. And he was approaching different devotees and teaching them, oh, this portion, Krishna, Krishna. So how to clean small crevices and a big stone and the ceiling, how to clean all of that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was teaching them how to do it. Bhala karma dekhi tare kari prasamshana mane na milile kare pavitra bharsana.
So Mahaprabhu was like sweet as well as like a thunderbolt. What it says here, when he saw someone doing nicely, the Lord praised him. See, performance appraisal is happening now. But if he saw that someone was not working to his satisfaction, he immediately chastised that person, not bearing him any grudge. So he was not holding anything against the person, but he was so absorbed in the service. So actually this whole episode is explaining us as what should be one's consciousness and attitude while performing a service. So how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was completely absorbed, and he was not thinking that if I will chastise somebody, then that person may get hurt or feel bad. What he was focusing is that the service has to be rendered perfectly. So whenever he was seeing somebody doing it nicely, he would praise. Someone who was doing it in a not so properly, then he would chastise that person. So teaching and correcting simultaneously.
And his correction was, it's mentioned Pavitra Bharsana. So which means this is the perfection of constructive criticism. We all say, criticism is required at times because things have to be improved. So we use the word constructive criticism. Here the word uses Pavitra Bharsana, which means that the correction is being done also in a very pure way. There's a purity in correction. So there is no grudge being held against the other person, and then the correction is offered. So there is no question of the other person feeling hurt or feeling bad or feeling sad. By such Pavitra Bharsana or chastising the person without bearing any grudge towards him, then this person will actually feel enthused to perform his service in a better way. Tumi bhala kariya shikaha anyere ei mata bhala karma se hoye na kare. The Lord would say, you have done well. Please teach this to others so that they may act in the same way. So we saw earlier we saw that Lord was delegating. He was saying allocate different portions. Then we saw that Lord taught by his personal example. Then Lord went and taught different devotees how to clean, and then he appreciated those who are doing well, and then he corrected those who are not doing well. And now those who are doing well, Lord said, now you go and you teach this to others.
The parampara.
Yes. Cleaning parampara. Ekatha shuniya sabe sankuchit hana bhala mate karma kare sabe mana diya.
As soon as they heard Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say this, everyone became ashamed. Thus the devotees began to work with greater attention. So when they were hearing that Mahaprabhu is praising somebody and scolding somebody else and then telling that you are only doing properly, go and teach others. So just by hearing that, people were so sensitive and intelligent. So they could understand that they are not performing well, and they felt very ashamed of that. And because of that, they began to work with greater attention. So just by his comment to one devotee, Mahaprabhu was teaching actually all those hundreds of devotees who had gathered there.
Tabe prakshalana kailashi jagamohana bhoga mandiradi tabe kaila prakshalana natashala dhui dhula chatvara prangana pakashala adhikari karil prakshalana. They washed the Jagmohan area, and then the place where food was kept, all of the places were also washed. In this way, the meeting place was washed, the entire yard, the raised sitting places, the kitchen, and every other room. So here is a summary of all that. Not even an inch of place was left without washing. All the areas were covered very well. Hina kale gaudi aika so buddhi sarala Prabhura Charana Yuge Dilaghata Jala.
After everything was thoroughly washed, a Vaishnav from Bengal, who was very intelligent and simple, came and poured water on the lotus feet of the Lord. So we have seen that the devotee was actually pouring earlier also, but then it was not so direct. Mahaprabhu probably didn't even realize that his foot
This was happening.
Yeah, this was happening. Now here, this Gaudiya Vaishnav, this Bengali devotee, he comes. Everything was over. Everything is clear. And suddenly he pours water on the lotus feet of the Lord.
Sejalalana pane pan kaila taha dekhi prabhur mane dukha rosha haila. The Gaudiya Vaishnava then took that water and drank it himself. Seeing that, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt a little unhappy and was also outwardly angry. So this devotee, now we have to understand that Lord was still inside the temple. The temple has just been not just broomed and cleaned, but also washed and cleaned. Effort of so many devotees has gone into it, and now this Gaudiya Vaishnava devotee has come. He has poured a ghata of water, a full pot of water, and he's drinking that water. So that made Lord Chaitanya a little unhappy, and outwardly he was also angry.
Yadyapi Gosai Tare Hanache Santosha Dharma Samsthapana Lagi Bahir Maharosha. Although the Lord was certainly satisfied with him, he became angry externally in order to establish the etiquettes of religious principles. So actually some person was washing the feet of another person and drinking that water, and that too in the purified, sanctified temple, it is not proper etiquette. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he could see the devotion of this person, because he could see that this person is doing this because he is understanding me as the Supreme Lord, and that is why he is doing that. So internally he was satisfied with him. But then he also thought that if he would not say anything, if he would not chastise, if he would express his happiness and joy, then taking his example, everybody would be doing that. And Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he appears to establish the religious principles. So that is why he became angry, because he wanted to establish the etiquettes of dharma.
Shiksha lagi swarupe daki kahila tahare ei dekha tomar Gaudiyara vyavahare. The Lord then called for Sarup Damodar and told him, just see the behavior of your Bengali Vaishnava. So here we see that Lord has identified this devotee from Bengal, Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and then all Gaudiya Vaishnavas, who's their authority? Sarup Damodar. So all the devotees are under the care and under the training of Sarup Damodar. So therefore Lord is talking to Sarup Damodar.
Ishvara mandire mora pada dhoyaila sei jala apanilana pana kaila. So now this Mahaprabhu is telling what is his mistake. This person from Bengal has washed my feet within the temple of the personality of Godhead. Not only that, but he has drunk the water himself. So in the temple, we are expected to worship only the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, though he is Krishna himself, but as of now, he is in the form of a devotee. So that is why he is telling that you are not expected to wash the foot of a devotee and drink that water in the temple of the Lord.
Even one spiritual master. ए अपराधे मोरा कहाँ होबे गति तोमार गौड़िया करे एते के पाई जाती. I now do not know what my destination is because of this offense. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is thinking, he's saying that now he has washed my feet in the temple of the Lord and has drunk this water. What will happen to me? I am now party to this offense. And then he says, Tomara Gaudiya, indeed your Bengali Vaishnava has greatly implicated me. So here again, Sarup Damodar is being indicated as the leader of all the Bengali Vaishnavas or Gaudiya Vaishnavas.
तबे स्वरूप गोसाई तार घाड़े हाथ दिया ढेका मारी पूरीर बाहे राखिले नलाना. At this point, Swarup Damodar Goswami caught the Gaudiya Vaishnava by the neck and giving him a little push, ejected him from the Guṇḍicā Puri temple and made him stay outside. So because he could see and understand Mahaprabhu's mood, and he thought that if this poor boy will stand in front of Mahaprabhu, he'll get even more angry. So he immediately removed him from his sight.
Punasi Prabhur Paya Karila Vinaya Agya Aparadha Kshama Karite Yuyaya. After Swarup Damodar Goswami returned within the temple, he requested Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Karila Vinaya to excuse that innocent person. So Swarup Damodar Goswami has come and is requesting Chaitanya, please Shama, please excuse this innocent devotee. Tabe Mahaprabhur mane santosh haila sari kari dui pashe sabare vasaila.
After this incident, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very satisfied. He then asked all the devotees to sit down in two lines on both sides. So what has just happened? A devotee whom Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thinks is the follower of Swarup Damodar, he becomes very angry with him. He has actually committed an offense. And the spiritual master, Swarup Damodar, actually sort of punishes him also. Like, get lost, go away. He pulls him from his neck and take him outside. But that same spiritual master goes to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and begs mercy on behalf of that Vaishnav. So that is how we are always very protected if we have spiritual master, because we are not perfect. We keep making so many mistakes. Our spiritual master, our seniors may chastise us, but they are the ones who will present our case in front of Krishna. So that is why Prabhupada repeatedly he talks about the importance of accepting a spiritual master.
And then Lord has asked all the devotees to sit in two lines on both the sides. So is it for prasadam? Not yet. Apane vasiya majhe apana rahate trina kankar kuta lagi lakudaite.
The Lord then personally sat down in the middle and picked up all kind of straw, grains and sand and dirty things. So let's see what he's going to do now.
Kikata kudaya sabba katra kariba yara albatara thani pithapana laiba. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was picking up the straws and grains of sand, he said, I shall gather everyone's collection and I shall ask whoever has collected less than all the others to pay a fine of sweet cakes and sweet rice. So Lord is saying, I will come and pick up everyone's, whatever they have collection of straw and grains of sand. So which means he will personally inspect, he will collect, and then whoever has collected less, they have to pay, they have to be punished. And what is the punishment? That they have to arrange for sweet cakes and sweet rice for the devotees. Hey mata sabha puri karila shodhana shitala nirmala kaila yena nijamana.
In this way, all the quarters of the Guṇḍicā temple were completely cleansed and cleared. All quarters were cool and spotless, like one's cleansed and pacified mind. So this is how successfully they have completed the Guṇḍicā cleaning. And while cleaning, what they have ultimately done is they have cleansed and pacified their own minds, and they have all become spotless, just like the Guṇḍicā temple. Pranali kachadi adi pani vaila nutana diyena samudre milila e mata pura dwara age pathayata sakala shodhila taha kevani bekata.
When the water from the different rooms was finally let out through the halls, it appeared as if new rivers were rushing out to meet the waters of the ocean. outside the gateway of the temple, all the roads were also cleansed. And no one could exactly tell how this was done. So not only the temple was cleaned, but the gateways and the roads outside also were all cleaned very well. And no one can exactly tell how it all was done.
So getting into the next section, verse number 136 to 150, Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan. नृसिंहा मंदिरा भीतर बाहिरा शोधिला क्षणिक विश्रामाकारी नृत्य आरंभिला.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also cleansed the Narasimha temple inside and outside. Finally, he rested a few minutes and then began dancing. So very, very close, adjacent to Guṇḍicā temple is this very old Narasimha temple, and this temple was also cleaned inside and was cleaned outside. And then after a few minutes rest, Lord began the Sankirtan.
चारिदिके भक्त गणा करे ना कीर्तना मध्य नृत्य करेन प्रभु मत्त सिंह सामा. All around Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the devotees performed congregational chanting. The Lord, just like a maddened lion, danced in the middle. So here begins the transcendental, ecstatic kirtan and dance program. Svedakampa vaivarnashru pulaka hunkara nija anga dhui aage chale ashrudhara.
As usual, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced, there were perspiration, trembling, fading, tears, jubilation, and roaring. Indeed, the tears from his eyes washed his body and those before him. So as the devotees were singing, Lord was dancing, all these ecstatic symptoms appeared in the transcendental form of the Lord, and the tears would shoot. So tears would wet his body and the tears will fall on the other devotees who were in front of him.
चारिदिके भक्त अंगा कैला प्रक्षालना श्रावणेर मेघयेना करे varishana. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed the bodies of all the devotees with the tears from his eyes. The tears poured like the rains in the month of Shravan. So, I can ask also, can we imagine? Because we cannot imagine what type of kirtan is this and what type of ecstasy is this. That just now they have cleansed Guṇḍicā and now the tears are cleaning the bodies of all the devotees who have actually cleaned the Guṇḍicā temple. Maha Ucca Sankirtane Akasha Bharila Prabhura Uddanda Nritye Bhumikampa Haila.
The sky was filled with the great and loud chanting of Sankirtan, and the earth shook from the jumping and dancing of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Swarupera Ucca Gana Prabhu Sada Bhaya Anande Uddanda Nritya Kare Gauraraya. Ananda Uddanda Nritya Kare Gauraraya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always liked the loud chanting of Swarup Damodar. Therefore, when Swarup Damodar sang, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced and jumped high in jubilation. He mat ka takshana nritya ye kariya Vishrama karila Prabhu samaya bujiya.
The Lord thus chanted and danced for some time, and finally understanding the circumstances, he stopped.
Acharya Gosaira Putra Shri Gopala Nama Nritya Karite Tanre Agyadila Gaura Dhama Prema Veshe Nritya Kari Haila Mur Chite Achetana Hana Teha Padila Bhumite. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then ordered Sri Gopal, the son of Advait Acharya, to dance. While dancing in ecstatic love, Sri Gopal fainted and fell to the ground unconscious. Aste vyaste acharya tanre kaila kole
श्वास रहित देखी आचार हईला विकाले. When Sri Gopal fainted, Advaita Acharya hastily took him upon his lap. Seeing that he was not breathing, he became very much agitated. ऋषि मेरा मंत्र पढ़ी मारे जल छाटी हुंकारेरा शब्दे ब्रह्मांड या फाटी.
Advaita Acharya and others began to chant the holy name of Lord Nrsimha and sprinkle water. The roaring of the chant was so great that it seemed to shake the entire Brahmand. The entire Brahmand started shaking, or the universe started shaking.
Crack open.
Because Advaita Acharya and others were chanting Nrsimha Dev prayers.
Ugram Virum Mahavishnum Jwalantam Sarvato Mukham Narsimha Vishanam Bhadram Mrityum Namamyaham. Jai Narsingha Shri Narsingha Jai Jai Narsingha Prahaladesha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bringam.
Aneka karela tabu nahaya chetana Acharya kandera kande sabha bhakta gana. Tabe Mahaprabhu tanra boghe hasta dila Uthaha Gopala Bali Ucheshwara Kaila. When the boy did not regain consciousness after some time, Advaita Acharya and other devotees began to cry. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu placed his hand on the chest of Gopal and said loudly, Gopal, stand up.
Utha Gopal. Shunite Gopalera Haila Chetana Hari Bali Nitya Kare Sarva Bhakta Gana. As soon as Gopal heard the voice of Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu, he immediately came to his senses. All the devotees then began to dance and chant the holy names of Hari. So this is how Sri Gopal, the son of Advaita Acharya, was delivered directly by Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu.
So this whole pastime is very blissful and wonderful, that how Chaitanya Mahāprabhu was dancing, how Swarup Damodar was loudly singing, and that made Chaitanya Mahāprabhu to dance more. And after some time, he is asking Advaita Acharya's son Gopal to dance. So much emphasis is given there on the Kirtan. Sankirtan is the Yuga Dharma. And in ISKCON Chennai, we are organizing Madhur Mahotsav, a festival of Kirtan. Of course, not the same, but very similar, because we are inspired by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. So we are organizing this Madhur Mahotsav festival, which is on 13th, 14th and 15th of January. So those of you who are who are in Chennai, or those who are visiting Chennai during Pongal time, or those of you who can come and attend, it is our humble invitation. Please come and participate in this festival. To know more details about this festival, please send a message to our WhatsApp number and we will send you the registration link for the festival. We really would be delighted to host you all for this Madhur Mahotsav festival. And proceeding to the next, the Prasadam pastime, it starts from verse number 151. It is already 55 minutes, so I think we will honor Prasadam in the next session.
Prasade Govinde Namo Brahmane Vaishnave.
So we will stop here with our invitation to you for Madhur Mahotsav. It is during the Pongal holidays. It is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So even if you are out of station, it is actually possible, especially those who are staying in and around Chennai, somewhere in Tamil Nadu or Andhra. Please try to make it for this festival. So thank you all. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare.
Shila Gopal ki jai, Chaitanya Charitamrta ki jai, Nidai Gaur Premanande.
Hare
Hare Hare, Hare Rama.